residents request for volunteers to come into the town and go to the club and do some things for the February 13th special election to replace George Santos. We cannot afford another George Santos, and the person that they are running is a person that is deep in Magna theory and Magna rhetoric. We can't afford another George Santos, especially when we have a quality candidate that has done positive government work in Tom Swazi. So Tom Swazi is a person that we can easily get behind because he has had a great opportunity to serve in government before. There are some other important races in Queens and Long Island. Taylor Darling is running to replace Kevin Thomas for the state Senate. There'll be other elections across Long Island that I hope that we can get involved with because we need to flip some Senate seats back and a couple of assembly seats are now in danger there as well. We hope that even if you can't do it, you have friends in Long Island that can get involved in those races. If you can do it, that's great. If you can help steer us to some people in Long Island, please let us know. And we will also be running judicial candidates. I know that they mentioned members of Congress and the state elected officials, myself and Alicia Hyman are running to make sure that we have we're running for re-election, sorry, and I hope that we can, make sure that we do the things necessary to get ourselves re-elected with your help. Again, I want to thank the February 13th is the first election, a special election, which will head out from North Queens Village to Bayside to some other critical areas. So that's going out to Long Island so we can make sure that we talk to our friends in those areas as well. We have the April 2nd New York presidential primary, the June 25th general primary with state elected officials, members of Congress, and judicial candidates, and the general election the first Tuesday in November the 5th. We are working to do a lot of things over the year, but I just want to talk about a couple of things later. We have well, this is not, yeah, we had a couple major things happening last year and a couple major things that didn't happen. The major thing was the housing problem that we have in our state. Governor Hochul last year proposed $500 million to develop 15,000 housing units on state-owned land and is requiring localities to receive a pro-housing community certification before they can access hundreds of millions of dollars in state discretionary fund. She also proposed a replacement for 421A, which fell flat and did not work because there were folks that had strong wills about competing and fighting against each other on things. One of the major things that was a hot issue during the budget with housing advocates and many in the legislature talking for a so-called good cause eviction, or as I call it, lost cause eviction, because in Southeast Queens, that would have had a devastating effect on small homeowners because they would have required that anyone that rented to a tenant would be locked into rent stabilization and rent control values. And it was a really bad bill that would essentially privatize our homes and not just privatize them, but lock them into a revolving door where they couldn't get out. So I have a bill that would right-size some of the housing stock that is currently available. There's some 30,000 units of affordable housing sitting unoccupied around the state. We have a bill that many advocates and like is called the Local Regulated Housing Restoration Adjustment Act. It's Senate Bill number 6352A, and it's something that we truly need to make sure that we can work on. The mayor has come out with his own housing plan called the City of Yes, which is also a even deeper threat to residential communities because he's talking about and actually started a pilot program for some ADUs, which we know is a um, associate dwelling units. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Transit-oriented development and legalizing basements. Three things that would add a lot of residential, a lot of people in residential areas and small residential areas. Associated dwelling units would um, actually allow people to build and on the existing house either a roof or put a garage or put an accessible unit next to it. Legalizing basements would create other hazards for people, and it would essentially double the size of the population in our residential area where people have fought to have a quality of life and purchase homes to achieve a quality of life. Transit-oriented development is something also that can harm our communities if it's not done properly. And some welcome news, the mayor, and welcome news for the mayor, the governor, Hochul, has allocated $2.4 billion to address the influx of asylum seekers, which, as we know, over 300,000 people have come to New York in the past year and a half. Which is really a hard situation for any city to work out, and especially, the cities that are not getting reimbursed by the federal government because the Republicans in the majority in Congress are blocking any legislation. And it's to me, it's truly a sin that they are not allowing asylum seekers to come and work as soon as they get here. There are so many businesses around the country that are struggling, looking for workers in desperate need of people that can do all types of work because there's industries that are short on being able to find workers, but yet they haven't come together in Congress to do anything. Last year in Congress was their lowest year in production of passing bills in the history of Congress. There's some other issues that the mayor is talking about in his new housing plan. He wants to come up with a housing plan that would guarantee 50,000 units of housing, but he's only committed to 12. There's a lot of holes in the plan, but there's a lot of concern because they want to try to find any vacant property to build housing on. So we have to make sure that we come up with our own housing plans to make sure that we are mitigating any backlash from what the city or the state is trying to do. We've been trying to do a moratorium on shelters. We've been pushing to do more for struggling homeowners by increasing um, increasing the money for people that are going through foreclosure and people that are dealing with quality of life issues because they're house poor, house rich, and cash poor. So they're struggling to maintain their homes. We have to do more in the state to try to make sure that providing that assistance for people. We're losing homes also to people that are stealing deeds and moving in and taking over seniors' homes when they see that they're not able to take care of their own home or they're moving with a cane. There's people that are constantly monitoring your homes and constantly doing everything that constantly are doing things to make sure that we are struggling and make sure that if they see a person that's having a problem, that they're either illegally or legally trying to take over a senior's home. We have to do more to talk to our seniors in our community and make sure that they are being taken care of or at least being watched so that no one tries to push in on them and take over their homes. And other quality of life things, we are trying to make some gains to stop the two main concerns of the sale of cannabis to minors and the unregulated sale of cannabis in the hundreds of dispensaries throughout the state. I have a piece of legislation that I recently introduced to the state Senate, working with Assemblymember Jennifer Rajkumar to stop marijuana over proliferation and keep empty out operators and eliminate empty operators from unlicensed transactions. The Smoke Out Act is Senate Bill 7998, Assembly Bill 8428, which would grant increased power to local municipal governments to shut down unlicensed cannabis stores. Right now, there's only one entity that can shut down the cannabis stores, and that's the sheriff's office, and they do not have enough personnel to keep up with all of the illegal folk that are doing things in our city and our state. And unfortunately, the past governor um, legalized the smoking of marijuana before any of the other pieces were in place, which needed to be in place to ensure that um, there would be retail cannabis stores and uh, retail product that was available before he granted the general opportunity for people to smoke. This has created this horrible situation now where we have all these illegal stores that are opening up because the governor legalized the smoking and use of marijuana. But we are going to try to do everything we can to deal with it. We've been facing a lot of complaints from people almost every day to try to eliminate all this illegal cannabis that's out here. And it's infecting our children because along with the cannabis, they're selling all types of cannabis related products, especially in the candy form or in other types of forms that are appealing to children. And our kids are going to school. With infect or high from cannabis use. And it's a major problem that we're having in our schools. And we need to fight at working together to get our schools cannabis free. Just moving to the transportation area, the executive budget has provided several funding initiatives to address the MTA's financial challenges. We've been working hard with the MTA to try to make sure that they're more transparent and doing things that they need to do to make sure that we can increase ridership and that we have safety in the subways as well, and so that more people can feel comfortable with taking the subway, especially with dealing with the payroll mobility tax, trying to make sure that we continue to have paratransit and have a more robust program for people that need to take a mobility vehicle to get around. We're increasing that amount and dedicating other dollars to it once the adopted budget will go to make sure that they have more money to make that um, continue. We also, as you know, have a free bus pilot program. 5 different routes around the city have a free bus pilot program. The Q4 free bus line, as you all know, which goes right by the club. We encourage folk to use as much as possible because that will help encourage the MTA to continue the fare reduction. And we are working hard to make sure that they can continue to increase the amount of free buses around the city, hopefully in the next budget. We have also, we've talked about this before, but they're actually in the planning phase now for the disability access and upgrades, accessibility upgrades for our stations, local stations in the district. The Locust Manor improvements will include 2 enclosed elevator towers located on each side of the platform, serving street level to platform level. 2 ADA compliant elevators will be installed for both the eastbound and westbound platforms. The sidewalks will also be ADA compliant to and from the elevators at street level, and 2 weatherproof help point emergency information kiosks with equipment enclosures. The improvements at the Long Island Railroad Station will be an enclosed elevator tower, an ADA compliant elevator, and an ADA compliant sidewalk to and from the elevator at street level. The St. Albans Long Island Railroading will be an enclosed ADA compliant elevator and tower, which will be installed within an existing pedestrian tunnel connecting the street level with the platform level. The existing tunnel will be reconstructed to provide the required height clearances. An ADA compliant sidewalk will be built throughout the length of the site to provide access to both Linden and Baisley Boulevard and access to and from the street at elevator level. And then there will be ADA parking, which will be built near the new elevator, a new on the new treads on the staircase, the existing staircases, and 2 weatherproof emergency information kiosks with equipment enclosures. We have a lot that we've done over the year, and we will continue to do things. We have our MLK Day of Service event, which happened, and I want to thank my staff and for that, doing that, because I had COVID and I could not attend. My staff and the Assemblyman behind my staff and other folk, our volunteers that really helped, and Margaret Denson, who coordinated it, making sure that the program went really well. And I got a lot of accolades from the program as well. We had the clergy brunch for nonprofits and faith-based leaders, making sure that they got access to information about funding and reducing costs from another different agencies. We continue to have our shredding and e-waste events, which we just had Saturday. As you know, we do have a dental van that's geared for older adults that's from NYU. We have free HEAP services every Tuesday and Thursday. We're hoping to continue to have free tax prep for people, for seniors. We're working on that. If we don't have an opportunity to do it in office because of COVID and also the problems with getting volunteers to work and work in the evenings and work after school, we may not have it. We're hoping to have it, and we're working hard to get the folks that have done it before. We are going to be doing the winter utility assistance with the Department of Public Service again this Saturday at the CW Mixon Center on Springfield Boulevard. That's right there at 112th in Springfield at and that will be in third from, I believe, 9 to 1 or 10 to 1. We have to check with my office. I have to look on my schedule in a minute. We are still doing mobile office hours. The next one is scheduled for February 7th in partnership with the New York Legal Assistance Group. So you can come there and talk to a lawyer about some things and get some advice. We're doing the Valentine's Day Give a Vet a Valentine at the State Veterans Facility with our Southeast Queens Advisory Committee, who under the leadership of Sharon Sweeting Lindsay, has been a great resources to our community. We will be doing a free bus to Albany for Caucus Weekend, which is on Saturday, February 17th. You need to call and register by February 1st, or we won't be able to make sure we accommodate everybody. There are other things that we're doing in office, but I want to turn it over to my colleague at this time, who I'm proud to work with. We've worked on many of these issues and workshops together, and she's also been doing a great work in Albany and has earned the respect of her colleagues and the leader, Carl Hasty, the speaker, Carl Hasty there, and is continuing to do other things to make sure that our state is taken care of. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague and friend, Assemblywoman Alicia Hyman.
Thank you, Senator Comrie. And he's right. We've both been under the weather. I've been out most of this week with the flu, but thank you for having this meeting virtually. Hello, Democrats. And I should just say ditto to everything that Senator Comrie said to make my world easier. But I just want to say thank you to the district leaders, Pamela Bluford and Preston Baker, to President Dr. Phelps, and to my always esteemed constituent liaison, the Executive Secretary Manny Kaufman. I just want to go over some points. Obviously, April 2nd is New York's presidential primary, and I am a delegate, as well as I believe Preston and Pamela are also delegates. And it's important that we get people out to vote. And it looks like it's going to be who on the other side, but we'll see. But as far as the Democrats are concerned, we are supporting Joe Biden. Also want to talk about, there is some redistricting that is going on right now with the congressional seats. And although petitioning does start, I believe, February 27th, well, I doubt that the congressional lines will be sorted out by then. And so we know how important that is for New York to get back those seats in our House so that we can make, as Preston said, Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the House. Just want to bring up another race that's going on with the surrogate court race. We are supporting Cassandra Johnson to be judge of the New York Supreme Court 11th Judicial District. She assumed office on January 1st, 2024, and because of her record in the civil court, she's been tapped to run for surrogate. Now, what is a surrogate court? Now, for all of you on this Zoom tonight, I'm sure everyone has their wills, right? And their estates and living trusts all set up, because we know none of us are getting out of here alive, correct? It was not in their head, and it's January. So if you haven't gotten down and done it, please do it, because this is the reason why a lot of our homes are in the disarray when people die, and then there's the children can't take over the home because there was no will or estate plan, and then there's a fight in surrogate's court to see who gets what, and the house sits vacant and squatters move in, and then you're calling our offices because we need to take care of that. We have to make sure that we are addressing these needs now. Remember, 71% of Black Americans do not have a will, and studies have shown that without an estate plan, your assets will be distributed to other people, and it'll be in a long court battle. Remember Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman passed away at 43 without a will, leaving part of his estate worth millions up to the courts to distribute. And we have to make sure there's countless story. I think the legendary musician Prince didn't have a will, and I believe it's still $156 million that they're still dealing with in the courts. There was some of that with James Brown also. So we have to make sure that we are leaving the paperwork behind for our loved ones, family members, to be able to handle our assets when we're gone and not give any money. We're not trying to give any money back to the state. It's about, as my colleague Clyde Bonnell would say, building generational wealth. And for most of us, that starts in our homes. So I just wanted to just double back on a couple of things that that our senator talked about with the TODs, ADUs, basement apartments. This is where you have to let your city council members know that if you're not supportive of the city of Yes, because it's not something that the Senate or the Assembly will be voting on. It is what the city of Yes applies to the city council members, and they will be voting on that. Senator Comrie and I will handle our governor's work when it comes to her basement apartments, as Governor Hochul likes to talk about. As you notice, there's been a lot of rain. It's raining. The temperature has gone up. It's raining, I think, for the next couple of days. So we have to make sure we're talking about climate change and resiliency. So when Governor Hochul's state budget, she proposed $500 million in investment in water infrastructure projects over the next 2 years, and $435 million to address coastal flooding, including $250 million for voluntary buyouts from individuals in climate vulnerable areas. Ding, 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 ding. We have to make sure that we're getting this money, applying for this money, so that way it comes right down to us. Manny has done tremendous work when it comes to groundwater flooding. We are working collectively with all of the elected officials in Southeast Queens to address DEP when it comes to flooding and mitigation. The Jamaica Bus Depot, York College. We have to make sure that we're working on. I'm on Zoom. I'm sorry. Can you close the door? Thank you. We have to make sure that we're still addressing the groundwater and the infrastructure that we have to talk about in Southeast Queens. We're still looking to see if we can get those wells pumped, the Jamaica wells reopened, because we know that would alleviate a lot of the water infrastructure issues that we have in Southeast Queens. I don't know who's texting me. Working with Senator Comrie, we are monitoring the progress of the Jamaica Bus Depot. This project, as you know, will modernize the depot and provide facilities needed the facilities and needed capital to upgrade the infrastructure. It would also create facilities to support MTA's first fully electric bus fleet and accommodate new bus service demands that will improve bus circulation throughout Queens due to the bus redesign. The MTA has been going around, I believe, to our community boards and some civics to talk about this bus redesign. This is where you have to make sure that your voices are heard. If you've noticed that the bus lines will change and there will be getting rid of bus lines, adding bus lines, and they're supposed to be improving service. But if you're seeing problems, this is where you speak up. Your voices are important in this arena when it comes to this redesign. And another thing I wanted to point out is that one of the things that our executives in the mayor's and the governor's office, when they talk about building more housing, they're not talking about increasing transportation. We're talking about a community which is still, as we know, the senator brought up how they're adding elevators and so forth to Locust Manor and I think Laurelton train stations. But we also need to talk about the expansion of a reduced ticket into Penn Station. If you're building all of this you cannot create housing and not have the infrastructure to go with it. So we want to, scooters, fine. Yep, great. Scooters are coming online, but I don't see most of us getting on scooters going to taking a scooter on Merrick Boulevard to go catch the ERDF train. We need to make sure that we're talking about how we're going to make the railroad more accessible and cheaper to constituents in Southeast Queens. As you know, education has been my wheelhouse. So the governor's budget, she proposed $825 million increase from last fiscal year, bringing the total to $35.3 billion. You should know the bulk of the New York State budget is health and education. And to increase it is great, but we have to make sure the money's getting right down to the students. Part of her initiative was also to increase proficiency and to train teachers and assistants in evidence-based literacy practices. As we know, teachers are also leaving the profession. So we have to do more to make sure we're attracting teachers to the profession. On the higher education side, SUNY and CUNY will receive $1.2 billion in capital projects funding and $207 million in operating aid. And also, what does that mean for York College? Well, we know we need to do more capital improvements in York College. If you know, Dr. Eanes is no longer the president of York College. He has gone back to the West Coast. But we have a new interim acting president at York College, Claudia Schrader. She's been part of the CUNY system for a while. Dr. Phelps has probably been able to work with her somewhat. I think she's been in maybe 2 weeks now there at York College, but she comes from Kingsborough Community College. So she does have work and has done extensive work in SUNY. Just a couple of things that we've been working on. We did the passport event in partnership with Guy Brewer Democratic Club. And as you know, the backlog of passports has been reduced because I believe they've hired more people. So if you were calling us a year ago to try and expedite passports, and then we were calling Congressman Meek's office on your behalf to expedite the passports, that should not be the case anymore. One of the things that we talk about a lot, and I've been trying to do some work around this, is to make sure that we're teaching our children from an early age about the importance of civic engagement, why it's important to get involved. So I was able to swear in the new student council at PS 38Q. We will be having a trip to Albany where we had over 100 students all involved in student government in schools in District 29. School District 29 visited Albany, and thankful to the senator's office and their staff and Assembly Member Vivian Cook's office, Assembly Member Khalil Anderson's office, Senator Sanders, Senator Toby Stavisky, Senator John Liu's office were very helpful in facilitating over 100 children from our district to see how government works. This is how we keep our children engaged. We're also doing a lot of work around housing. We just had it's not over yet. We have 2 more weeks of a virtual housing series, everything from neighborhood houses and services of Jamaica to the law, the kind of legal expertise you need to have. We just had one this evening. It ended at 7:30, but every presentation in my office is now online on Facebook. So please, you can still access it there. I was just able to pass a bill. I don't know who the Senate sponsor is. Maybe Essie could tell me, but we just passed a bill in Albany which prohibits financial institutions from charging a fee for periodic paper statements. As you know, all banks and most institutions want you to do everything online, but it shouldn't cost you anything if you would like to receive it in print. And so we were able to pass that, outlawing it in the state of New York. Just want to talk about, we also have a bus to Albany that will be leaving from in front of my office on February 17th. You also would need to call the office and sign up, or you can do it virtually. I'm hoping we can put that information in the chat. Dr. Bonds is, as you know, the superintendent of District 29. There was a new superintendent who is coming to District 28. I think he began work, I want to say maybe a month ago. So he's on board and they work together to make sure both districts are running well. IS 59 is losing their principal, Kimlin Gregg, but another principal who left the district is coming back to the district. Mr. Ryan Cook will be the new principal at IS 59. And that is, I believe that happened already. But just that we're continuing to work with 100 Suits, Life Camp, United Black Men and Queens as violence interrupters, the King of Kings, making sure that we're keeping our communities safer and crime down. My office does attend all of the precinct council meetings, 107, 103, 113, and 105. And hopefully by the end of this year, it would also be the 116 precinct, which is supposed to be online by the fall of this year, 2024. And you know, that will be mostly the Rosedale, Springfield Gardens area, South Queens. And it's going to be interesting to see that division. If you know, there's a new commander at the 105 precinct, Commander Bovar, just came online. Long time in the community. Everyone, if you don't know him, you should get to know him. And lastly, as you know, New York is one of the most expensive states when it comes to Medicaid, probably the largest in the country, but there is a push to see if we can increase the Medicaid reimbursement rate in New York State. We'll see. And remember, the numbers that I've given out tonight are the governor's budget. This is not the final budget. The governor's budget was presented last week. She has 30 days if she's going to make any amendments. And what Senator Comrie and I are doing now is in the Senate, they're working on the budget and the Assembly is working on the budget. So that's what we talked about. It used to be 3 men in the room. Now that's no longer the case because, as we know, Leader Stewart Cousins is the woman in the room, and we now have Kathy Hochul, our governor. So it's 2 women and a man in the room because Speaker Hastie is still our leader, but it's a definitely different playing field. This is when we haggle out for the next few weeks up until April 1st. Will be the slugfest, as I like to call it, in Albany, when everyone wants to get everything in the budget. And that's when we're in Albany working on the budget. And hopefully we'll have an on-time budget. April 1st, everything will pass. I'm hoping, because last year we went 30 days and I really couldn't tell you for what, because everything the governor held fast on, she ended up acquiescing to our demands and was taken out. So once again, the last thing I'll say is please sign up for the bus for Caucus Weekend, where the theme is centered around artificial intelligence and how it's affecting us, especially in communities of color. For those of you who go up for the day, it's you can call the office. For those who want to spend more time in Albany, want to come for the entire weekend, I would actually also reach out to the office. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but I'm hoping we can go to the chat for any questions that may be coming up about the state budget and what it will look like for District 29 and also Senate District 5. No, that's Congress. Sorry, 10. Oh, is it 15?
14, 14.
14.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's okay. I just wanted to bring up a couple of other issues, if I might. When we've been really focused on financial literacy for young people, I do have a bill that's working to try to address it. The governor vetoed it last year, but we're going to reintroduce it. We also have a bill to deal with education, the lack of Black history education in the schools on a statewide. They did pass a bill on the city level to allow for Black history to be taught in the schools and a curricula to be developed. We have one for the state as well, the Amistad bill that I'm doing with Assembly Member Zinnemann, sorry, and also we have bills that we're working on consumer litigation that we've been working with the Attorney General for the last 2 years to try to get done. But it's been the governor's vetoed it the last 2 years, but fortunately this year she claims she added it in the budget. We're going to make sure it's not watered down to the point where it's not effective. I just want to reemphasize the deed theft issue and the property ownership issue. We have to make sure that we're protecting our seniors. So we need to do more to make sure if we find a senior, and also people, if they're dealing with foreclosures, please to reach out to our office because we can help a person that's dealing with foreclosure issues. I'm proud to say that I was one of the top 10 senators last year that had the most amount of bills passed and by both houses and also signed by the governor. So we've had an effective team working with a lot of people, a lot of legislators on both sides of the aisle to get things done. So, and with that, I'll turn it back over to Preston to move the program forward, or whoever's handling the Q&A part of the program. Thank you for allowing us to do this community update.
Okay. So there are a few questions here. If you want to tap the Q&A, you guys can tap if that, or you want me to read them out to you guys.
The marijuana bill number is the 7998. I think that question was answered. Are there resources for single young adults who have yet to doctor or will? There are. The NAACP is sponsoring a state workshop actually this Saturday at the new Edward Davis Center for
On Farmers Boulevard. Yeah.
Mhm. And I would strongly suggest people to head to that, and they can get a free background on the state planning. What's the next one? Yes, thank you. So is there something preventing the possibility of putting an elevator or escalator? No, we're putting an elevator and escalator. We're putting an elevator at the St. Albans Long Island Railroad Station. They're putting in an ADA compliant elevator, and also they're putting in an ADA compliant staircase. So they're getting both, and they're also putting in now some parking over there. So that's happening at the St. Albans.
I see. Hi, Bill. I see your question. The thing is, in the governor's budget, it's the details aren't there specifically. It's just, it's like line items. So I don't know exactly if it passes, how that's expanded and how to apply. That we don't know yet. I see another question here from Barbara Peterson. Where can I get help with a $30,000 bill that was attached to my tax bill by HPD on work that was done in the house next door to me? You try to... Okay, so this question here, I want to say, if you've reached out to Councilman Natasha, is Amir still in the room? Amir, we can copy this. Ms. Peterson, can you put your information in the chat? We could follow up and see where that is with the councilwoman's office. I know that she has great staff, so I'm sure there's more to it than, they're not helping you. So Amir, Ms. Peterson, can you put more information in the chat? And then we can see if we can get you in touch with Amir, Chief of Staff for Councilwoman Williams' office.
Yes, Amir just put his information in the bottom of the chat so you can reach out to him.
Oh, she got it. Is there a plan to use the blighted properties to help with the homeless situation and need for recovery housing? I don't believe, Ms. Simon, that there's a plan as such. The homeless situation, as you know, the city is not getting the necessary resources from the federal government when it comes to our homeless situation or migrants. And I think the city is using money. And as you've heard the mayor talk about budget cuts across the board when it comes to housing in the city of New York, rather. So the governor in her plan did talk about homeless money for giving the city an additional, I think, over $2 billion towards the migrant issue, which we hope will in turn alleviate the cost and help the city with the homeless issue. So, and you should also know that the homelessness issue is not just in New York City, New York State, it is across the country when it comes to helping the homeless. We have an influx because the federal government has not done any comprehensive immigration policy. So and as you know, every day there's still buses coming into neighboring states, and those states are still funneling the migrants into New York City, and only have to turn on any news story to see what the situation is going on that with people being rehoused or having to recertify every 30 to 60 days. It is an untenable situation, and I'm not even sure if a change, on the federal level, if Hakeem Jeffries gets the leadership, if that will change for New York City for the better. My hope is that it does.
There are a few Q&A questions. One is from Sheila Vahan. Regarding infrastructure, any proposals for DP, anyone to mitigate the flooding of our alleys, which have no drainage and constantly floods when it rains?
Can you put that information in the chat? So, because sometimes things can be targeted individually. So if you could put your specific address and what alleyways you're talking about in the chat, that would be helpful.
Most
that was you.
Yeah, that was yeah, I'm sorry. I'm the center with me. Yeah, go ahead. I was saying that to answer about alleyways, most alleyways are private property, and they're not city owned. The council member is Councilman Natasha Williams is trying to work on some legislation to address that. We've had a couple of meetings with her team and council's legal team to try to figure out how to address that, because as the homes have gotten older and the alleyways have gotten more destroyed, they are trying to figure out a way to give those homeowners some help.
Okay. Leroy Gatson, can you please share some information on the status of the Chick-fil-A bill? Those of us in the religious community are concerned with legislation mandating how one spends their Sundays. So that bill was introduced on the assembly side by my colleague, Tony Simon from Manhattan. I am unsure at this time where that bill is. I don't think it's, I don't know the bill number. Haven't heard anything else about it. I know it got a lot of information, a lot of news play. So much so, I think one of the senators from South Carolina said he was gonna, do something about it. I don't know if it's gotten any more leverage in the assembly, Leroy, at this time.
I would second that. It hasn't come to my house in any fervent manner as of yet.
I think it was more sensational than anything else.
But the whole idea of what you're saying about it and concerned about what is it? I'm sorry.
So
Concerned
open
about
businesses
how
having
one
to
can
open on
spend their
Sundays.
Sundays. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when you go up and down that throughway, the new rest stops are enticing. But it's also like when you stop there, it's like you're at the airport where everything costs more money. So, I would always say bring food from home, which is what I know Senator and I are trying to do a lot more this year, is eat
Mhm.
out less.
Mhm.
But the new rest stops on the New York State Thruway are attractive and inviting.
I would say they're attractive, but they're not inviting because they're too small. And you wind up bumping up against people trying to go to the bathroom that are online waiting for food. So I've had a beef with the Thruway Authority since they were planning on installing it because I could tell that what their footprints were was too small. And the fact that they put a restaurant in there, I'm not going to tell anybody how to spend their Sundays, but Sundays is the busiest travel day for most families. Their main attraction restaurant, which takes up the most footprint, is not open on Sundays, which is a primary travel day for people. So it never made sense to me. I called it out when it first happened, and they still went ahead because, of course, they were smarter than everybody else, and now it's a major loss leader for the community. I think, they went down from having at least 12 stalls in each station to now only six. And it doesn't make sense, and doing it how they've done it doesn't make sense either. A lot
There's
of
a,
these bureaucrats think they know things, but once it's happening, in fact, I question them at budget hearings as to what they could do to break the contract to make some of these places bigger. Of course, it's beyond their capability to try to figure out how to make something better.
there's a few Q&A questions. One is from Nicole Simon. How do we get more social emotional assistance for our youth in the school? District 29 schools are struggling with caseloads too large for the school counselors to manage.
Mm.
So I was on a call last week with District 29 had and they sent this to all parents, and I'm still a parent of a District 29 child. So Nicole, I definitely hear what you're saying. They reached out and they sent every parent a text that they were having this social emotional learning session for parents and how to better help their child. And there were over 100 parents on this, including me. And they had the SAPIS workers. SAPIS workers have been in our schools for years. SAPIS workers are part of DC 37. Don't ask me the exact acronym, but these are workers that deal with substance abuse, mental health issues, and they had the counselors on there giving parents, a toolkit of things to talk to your child about, and when it comes to social emotional learning. The first step, I do believe, is the parent. The second step is the school. So yes, schools are dealing with a lack of mental health, but it's also because the demands are sometimes bigger than what they're able to withstand. So I would really hope that you can identify which schools you're talking about, and we can find out, one, if there's a SAPIS worker in there, two, if they have a social worker in there, if they have the school psychiatrist. I do get a lot of requests from graduate students uh, to do interviews. I always ask, like, how many Black psychiatrists are in your graduate program? Because that is where a field where a lot of us are not encouraging our youth to go into, especially Black males. It's really hard. We talk about the unbiased things that people will say when they're talking to our children. So, I really need to identify the schools that you're talking about. There is a need, and the district is trying to address those needs. And Dr. Bonds will tell you that what each school should be doing and what schools are doing based on the enrollment of the school and what's available in the building. And teachers are doing a lot more social emotional learning and asking children, how are you feeling today? And not just how you feeling, to describe the feelings and encourage the conversations. And I know that is happening. So we need you to identify the buildings that you're talking about in 29. Thank you. Did I just
Oh.
close myself out? Oh,
There is a question from Ari Ennis. With recent developments in affordable housing and future plans for Creedmoor, how can we ensure our community residents are guaranteed access to these affordable units?
We're gonna do everything we can to build it into the RFQ once they come up with the final design. Unfortunately, there was just the court ruling. The last few projects that have happened in downtown Jamaica, it was done under Councilmember Williams, who was successful in getting most of the developments done by minority developers. They just came out with a ruling that said that there could no longer be a 50% community preference on these projects. And that's really bad for our communities because, the city argued, and rightly, that it's going to change the quality of neighborhoods to go from a community that's a minority community to an open bid. So we're going to have to figure out a way to work around that.
we have to. We
Yeah.
have to. Do you remember when we were at? Unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of you knew Dr. My God, man, his name escapes me. We went to his funeral, Leroy.
John Plateau.
Yeah, Dr. Plateau's funeral, and Reverend Herbert Daughtry said, "There's no way we can have all of these Black legislators and in government, and we're still having gentrification issues. So we really have to push back as hard as we can on that, and making sure we get that change in the council." To make sure that we do get those businesses in here to get those contracts and the housing numbers that we need.
Okay. And in terms of that, I just wanted to state assembly member, if you could tell us how many assembly people are there, just so people know what you guys do, and how many are actually African American minorities or minorities.
So we have 150 assembly members, and I always ask this question, and I think we're getting smarter. There are how many counties in New York State, right? Everyone knows that answer, right? 62 counties in New York State. So there's 150 assembly members and there's 63 senators. And every assembly member has about 130,000 or so constituents in the district. So we have a state of, let me get this number right, 533 villages and 599 town municipalities. So whatever is best for New York City, sometimes we have to be very strategic when we do bills and laws and how it affects New York City as opposed to how it affects Tonawanda County and so forth. So sometimes when, because our body is so big, we don't always get things done as quickly as we would like. Same thing with the Senate. The Senate is 63 members. Senator Comrie's district has about 300 some odd thousand constituents, like 330 senators, something like that. Yeah. So then, and his district has changed where he goes more into like Kew Gardens, Forest Hills area, which he didn't have before. Now, Senator Toby Ann Stavisky has come more into South Queens. Like she and I overlap, which we never did before. She has some parts of Jamaica Avenue and so forth. So, Preston, what was your question?
No, I was just trying to get, because based on what you with the question was in terms of gentrification, just to get an idea of how many state assembly people there versus how many minorities. So you kind of understand that it's not like, you have all of these Black people, you see it, but you don't realize when you're up in Albany who, you're dealing with.
Yeah. When you come to Albany in February for caucus weekend, that's not a true representation of what Albany looks like all the time. It's not. Sure. That's just one weekend in the whole month of, in the whole 6 month span that we stay there. So that's not how Albany looks all the time. Out of the state assembly and the Senate, there are we have the largest group, the caucus, which is made up of Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian members. Majority of those members happen to be in the city of New York. That's just what our makeup is. But as you go through upstate New York and Western New York, there's less and less communities that look like ours, with the exceptions of Rochester, Syracuse, and Buffalo, and Albany.
There is a question. We have experienced it from Philip Falai, Reverend. We have experienced influx of immigrants across the city in the past 8 to 9 months in New York City, and Queens has also experienced the immigrants hanging around. Do you have any provision or plan to support them so they will not be or constitute any issues to the community?
To support the churches, there is a city plan that churches can apply for aid if they're taking in migrants or housing or aiding and abetting migrants that have come in to. So I don't have the number at hand. Hopefully one of our staff people can dig it up, but they can call and if a church is having loitering problems, also they can call and work through the PD and also I believe it's HRA to try to provide help with those issues. For the Reverend can leave his email that we can get back to.
I do want to say that I know churches are able, if they're able. I know one church, Church of the Firstborn, which is on Merrick Boulevard, and in my district, every Friday, some of their members go out and they feed some of the migrants around the Home Depot and Springfield Gardens area. They make food for them. And one of the things, they're saying is like they just came here for work. Home Depot used to have a lot. Remember, people would go to Home Depot and pick up employees in the morning, and there'd be day laborers. But Home Depot has now closed off their property to anyone coming on there and trying to get work. A lot of these migrants now are not from Latin America, Central America. They're from Guinea and countries in West Africa. And some in East Africa have been coming over, young men coming here for work. And so, while there are city while there are city ordinances and so forth, if you are so inclined, I would say any pastor, because I know Church of the Firstborn has been doing it every Friday. So if they want to feed the homeless on different days and offer food or clothes, the migrants would welcome it. That's what most of them came here for. We do have to speak as a body, as elected officials, about trying to bring more structure, because before it becomes out of hand. And we had a conversation briefly about it last Saturday, and we'll be talking about it again very soon.
I'm sending the question to you in the hosting panel.
Okay.
Tiana Copeland asks, are there proposals on economic prosperity and cost of living financial assistance for those who make a higher salary and employment opportunities seem so limited, and yet so many are struggling? Put it in there.
She wants to know if there's assistance for people who are making above minimum or above poverty wage. Is that what she said?
Correct. There's the
There
cost of living.
There are programs, different There's a couple of agencies that are providing information seminars for people that are trying to be first-time home buyers. Banks are still doing it as well for people that are trying to be first-time home buyers. Right now is just the worst time in the last 10 years to buy a house, unfortunately. The interest rates are exorbitantly high, and even the housing supply is small as well. So I would suggest right now that if you can put your money pool and save money until the rates come down, the mortgage rates and the housing supply goes up, because you'll be winding up paying winding up having an interest rate 2 to 3 times the norm right now. So I would strongly do that. And I would strongly then still go to some of these seminars to see how you can put your money together to be prepared for when the real estate and the mortgage rates go down, which they will eventually.
Okay, thank you. And there's a question for Assembly Member Hyman. You mentioned that monies have been increased for health and education in the state. Can you speak to education, especially how it relates to pre-K program and kindergarten? Is there a specific amount allocated to our youngest, and how is it presented to help our kids excel in the future?
So you have to also, so we know from post-pandemic, the enrollment numbers have gone down in our public schools. We have the state education department through the state budget receives allocations for pre-K, absolutely. And those specific monies are given to the city of New York, and the city of New York uses that money to determine how many pre-K seats they need. If you've noticed, especially in District 29, there are standalone pre-K centers. But overall, the enrollment number for New York City has gone down. So I'm not sure. I'm trying to see if I can find the question specifically, because I heard pre-K. Is there a specific amount allocated to our youngest kids, and how is it presented to public? Well, so remember pre-K, and I have to say this, pre-K is not learning your letters. It is not learning sentences. It's not looking at sight words. That's not what pre-K is. Pre-K is organized play. Pre-K is more like classroom management, stations, washing dishes, playing in sand, quiet time, nap time. That's what pre-K is. So if you're talking about the whole trajectory of a child and how does that help them, I'll tell you, my daughter was one of the first pre-K classes. She's now 13. Do I think, I know as a working parent, pre-K helped me because it was full day. It was, as a working parent, it was cheaper. Does it prepare our children academically? I had the chance to visit Finland, and those children don't start school till they're 7 years old, and they're part of competing the same level as the children who started in this country in classrooms at 5 years old. So if you're asking if it's a success at this point, I think it's too early to tell in New York City, New York State, if pre-K has really made the advancement education-wise. Because if you've noticed, the chancellor that just came in, David Banks, said that he is now going back to phonics because he's realizing, and so experts are realizing, that children are not on reading level. And that's the bottom line. So whether they're coming in pre-K is not teaching them how to read. It is kindergarten and first grade where they're learning how to read. And that is where our chancellor for New York City has invested tons of resources, making sure that children are reading and on reading level by the time they get to third grade. So I think I'll stop there. I did see another question, I think was from Jason Clark around learning loss, or what did Jason?
Yes. Good evening, Senator Conry, Assembly Member Hyman. Thank you for your time today with the city. Why budget cuts, meaning $547 million to education, coupled with the learning loss we experienced during COVID. Are there any state initiatives to help public school students who have fallen behind catch up or improve their academic performance?
So you have to remember that New York City, New York State, after the pandemic, got more money from the federal government than they had in the last, I think someone had said, like 10 years. And we send more money to the federal government than we get back. That was just a fact. That money is now drying up. And so what we're realizing is that the city of New York said they're at a deficit of like $700 million is what the deficit they think they're facing, because all of that stimulus money is gone. And that's why you hear the mayor talking about cuts too. And cuts are coming to New York City, New York State as a whole. So what does that mean when it comes to learning loss? So the super, and I'm only specific to District 29. I'm sorry, I'm biased. For the couple of schools I have in District 28, I believe we do have a superintendent where working with the chancellor and talking about learning loss, it's assessing schools where they are, where the child is going, what kind of plan what kind of plan do they have. We have a superintendent who's very hands-on. Okay, Amir put it in the chat, 7.1 billion. Sorry, I needed a couple more zeros than what I said. I said 700 million. He said 7.1 billion. So while there is Jason, learning loss, each school individually, I can't speak to, we like to speak in a whole number, but in District 29, we have almost 40,000 kids. We also have the influx of migrant students that are coming in. There are migrant students in classrooms who teachers cannot speak Spanish or Igbo or whatever the languages the child is. So a lot of children are sitting in classrooms not learning because there's no bilingual education taking place for them. So we have learning loss, we have lack of bilingual education. We even have kids who never even got Spanish in 7th grade or 8th grade or a second language because there's not enough teachers in our public schools now to even teach them, the second languages like a lot of us got when we were in public school. That's also taking place now. So there's a lot going on now, and I ask parents to be really diligent in what their children are supposed to be learning. And if you feel like your child is at a learning loss or a deficit, you should be talking to the teacher and then the assistant principal or principal to assess how your child is doing. These are the things, we talk about it in like big numbers, but on the ground, if parents are feeling, I get so many things coming across the screen. If parents are feeling like there's a learning loss, you should be talking to your child's teacher, your child's the cohort, the coaches in the building. And if that's not working, then like reach out to us and we'll see if we can get them resources or find out what's going on in that school and get resources that your child needs to stay on great point. And I will say this in the Commissioner Betty Rosa knows this, the Chancellor of the Board of Regents, Lester Young, knows this, and they'll be talking about it more when we do our joint budget hearings that are coming up for education and higher education, the two committees that I sit on. And we can talk, like what is the state doing, but we need to make it more granular and talk about what are we doing and where our children are and how we can help them move forward post-pandemic.
It looks like that's most of the questions. We are grateful for your time. Is there anything you want to?
I see a question about the changes to the Jamaica Merrick bus station and when it'll be completed. I think there's two different. So I just want to clarify. The bus depot on Merrick Boulevard, just at Liberty, is a project that my predecessor, Archie Spignan, tried to get. It was promised to him and we completed back during his term. The bus depot is going to be torn down. You can see they're doing work over at the lot on Liberty Avenue by York College. They're going to temporarily put the buses there while they tear down the entire depot and build up the first electrified bus depot in the city. I'm hoping that they explain that it should be done by the end of 25 or the first quarter of 26 to do that work. I'm proud to say that I was able to get that commitment from the MTA to Archie Spignan's legacy, and hopefully it'll be named the Spignan Station. Then due to his legacy, we're working on that. The bus terminal across the street from the library, unfortunately, the owners of that property, which is 165th Street from Jamaica, and all of those stores that are encompassed in the depot, including the vegetable stand and the fruit stand and all those buses, all that property was owned by 5 different people, they all sold to one property management company, and they were trying to threaten the MTA to not allow the bus terminal across from the Queens Central Library to be replaced. We were fortunate working together with the borough president and all the electeds in Southeast Queens to push back, and we were able to ensure that the bus terminal will be replaced. They will be temporarily transitioned over to the, I want to say, the west lot, right across from the 103rd Police Station, while that work is being done, and hopefully that work can get done in the next 2 years as well. It's going to be some displacement and some definitely some problems with some circulation up there with that, but the both projects should be done by 26, by the 2026. And then I saw another question here. No, we're rolling up on 9 o'clock.
There's two more in the Q&A if you want to look at those.
Q&A, okay. What is the state? What is this thing? Oh, IS 270 only has one school counselor for the entire school. That's something that we can talk about with the superintendent. That is a big nut to crack, and trying for one person to handle all those students, especially as more people are dealing with mental stress. So we'll follow up with the council member, Sylvina Brooke Powers, and see what we can do to try to help the superintendent bonds to try to address that issue. That's a funding issue also, but we'll try to take a look at it. What in regard to housing, how can we ensure housing made available contributes to home ownership? Rental units and leasing does not contribute to generational wealth. Mike, I'm sure that we are going to try to do everything we can. We're going to work hard to try to ensure that we are building actual housing and not just rental housing. So, a lot of folks now, unfortunately, developers are not trying to do 1 and 2 family homes anymore, but we can definitely do more condos and co-ops, and so that people can have the opportunity for having a mortgage as opposed to renting. If we find any land, the Creedmoor is a site that everybody's looking at, and everybody has 2,000 ideas about what to do with it. But hopefully, as part of it, they were supposed to do veterans housing and senior housing. We're working on what we can do for building condos and co-ops for young people there, but I'm not sure what they're going to find out. I would hope that you all exercise your opinion on that. There was an open RFP and open ideas that was being circulated by the borough president's office, and we're going to do that. We're going to make sure that once that plan is finalized, we can ensure that everybody was involved. I would also just remind people that the Queens bus redesign is still happening, and we really need your input to make sure that there are all alternatives and all ideas to improve the bus service in Queens. They have committed to put a $20 million investment in this, so we need to make sure that we are making sure that we have every opportunity for Southeast Queens to have the best bus service possible. And I see one last question: what is Queens doing what is the state doing to promote local and hiring for Queens entrepreneurs? There's a lot of opportunity handling for entrepreneurs right now. Your college has a small business development program that's excellent in working with small entrepreneurs and young people that are trying to be entrepreneurs. They every year are one of the top 3 in the state, and they win awards for it. So I would encourage people to I'll contact York College Small Business Development Program.
And
Assemblymember?
also QEDC, Queens Economic Development Corp. And Queens Chamber of Commerce constantly offer classes for new entrepreneurs having a business plan, how to get access to capital. A lot of this takes place online, so you don't even have to leave your home. I know a lot of our young people want to, use social media and think they can just open an LLC and that's it, and the money will come. No, there's a lot of the tax preparation that's involved when you have an LLC, the tax responsibilities, especially in the city in the state of New York. It's a lot. Making sure that you're in compliance, making sure you have reporting structures, making sure that you do taxes. It's not opening a business in New York City. New York State is not easy, but making sure you're compliant sometimes is even more cumbersome. But QEDC and Queens Chamber of Commerce are really good about those resources they offer daily. Queens Public Library has lots of resources and online virtual workshops about opening small business assistance, small business, there's grants and sometimes there's RFPs that are out there. So I would say the three best resources is the QEDC, Queens Chamber of Commerce, and Queens Public Library. A wealth of resource and information for small business owners, especially like the Senator said, York College has the Small Business Administration right there. If you're looking at opening a business, I think he still runs it, Manny, right?
Yes, he's still there.
Harry Wells.
Very well.
Harry Wells.
Harry
Yep.
Wells.
He's still there. So,
Yeah, he's still there.
Yep. And so we talk about economic, small businesses run the city, state, and this country. So the resources are there. It can be a daunting task, but doing it and getting your paperwork in compliance is one of the first steps. And those are three great resources, four actually, right here available to you.
There was a question from Ms. Coulter. What workshops will be offered in Albany this year?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked that question. I happen to, that is not available just yet. We're hoping by Sunday it will be live on the website for all of you to see. The workshops will be starting because there's so many workshops. Workshops are available Friday. Friday's February 16th, I think. I'm trying to think of the dates in my head. But it will be live. But the theme this year is I just want to make sure I get this right. Can I have some theme music while I get the all
Don't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the theme this year is centered around AI, artificial intelligence. This is the 53rd annual legislative conference, and it's called AI Renaissance, Navigating Our Future is a theme, and hopefully we'll have the workshops live this Sunday. But they cover from Black maternal health to Black men working it out, to STEM education, to AI in community schools, AI and how AI works in government. So it should be up live on the website by Sunday. You do have to register, but if you get on my bus, we pay your registration fee. I'm just saying.
Okay. I saw one other question. I saw the Jamaica neighborhood plan dealing with how it affect the current housing crisis. Hopefully, if everybody is involved and working together, we're working with the elected officials on the neighborhood plan as well. We want to make sure that we can do as much once they finalize it to improve the quality of life for everyone that deals with the Jamaica area. Making sure that there is more infrastructure, more sewers, better cultural plan to hopefully centric around JCAP and the Y to ensure that there are more cultural and after-school services and other plans. And we're going to work with as much as we can, dealing with the parking density, resolving and hopefully building 2 new schools in that area. Dealing with the problem with the sinkholes is that right in that area is a lot of high water table because of the aquifer and the fact that we're no longer pumping from Jamaica wells. We're getting all our water from upstate. And we're going to try to do everything we can to figure out how we can create a better infrastructure to sustain a high water table where we don't have bedrock under most of Southeast Queens. It's a much porous type of crustacean or rock that's there. So those are things that we're all going to be working on. Hopefully everybody together, and I would hope that everybody come up with their specific ideas so we can make that happen. And then I just saw we don't have bilingual education anymore. That's a real problem. Hopefully we can get back to that after we catch up on some other deficiencies that are happening in education. Did I miss anything, Preston?
No, you got it. I was asking, putting the information of your offices in the chat. If anybody wants to reach out and have any questions or concerns, it's Assembly Member Hyman's. I believe you have someone from your office that'll add your information to the chat. So if anybody has any issues or anything, you can always reach out to their office. Their offices are, I reach out whenever there's an issue, and they're very responsive. You both have great teams. So we're, excited. They always answer the questions. They try to do the best they can to work on constituent services. So we're appreciative. And if there are any final words, I know we have to make some couple announcements, and if you guys to stay on for a little bit longer, but if Senator and Assembly Member have any final words, please.
I want to thank you for this forum. I look forward to, I saw someone put in the chat, can we do this on a regular basis to do a town hall chat or just to update people on it? We can. We both actually, and Council Member Williams and Brooks Powers, we send out weekly email blast updates. You can contact our office at info@leroycomrie.com, or they just put a sign up for the weekly newsletter, which I actually need to copy and give out myself. But we have a weekly email blast that we send out, and it's an opportunity for you to find out exactly what we're doing in Albany and around the community, and also other free community events that are happening in and around the community. And my Deputy Chief of Staff, Harry Ennis, put her phone number, the office phone number, in her email. We are by appointment only. We had a COVID wave hit our office, so right now we're waiting for a disinfectant service to come in before we can open back up fully. We are open by appointment only, and we'll probably stay by appointment only during the winter, because we had 5 people in our office that have been dealing with COVID, including myself.
I just want to say thanks for this. Was very informative, and now that we've started going back and forth to Albany, I think virtual meetings are a great way to get. And I think you had over 100 people in here this evening, Guy Brewer Democratic Club. So great job in keeping our community engaged, because when they hear the information firsthand, the game of telephone may change the story, but at least they get it firsthand. So thank you for this. Please look out for the flyers for the buses to Albany. It is first come, first served basis. And we will be providing food on the bus going in, coming. And my information is in the chat, and I'm always available to speak to our constituents at any time.
Thank you both. Manny, I know we're going back about the announcement. We got a few announcements from the council member's office, Natasha Williams. On the 23rd, Tuesday the 23rd, they are having a discretionary funding application workshop. Councilmember Natasha Williams invites all community-based organizations to participate in our discretionary funding training. There are 2 identical training in January and in February, both via Zoom. Please be advised that all first-time applicants to council funding are expected to attend this training for any allocations. Actually, there's a registration link. I think we'll have to send it out. We'll send it out in the follow-up. Zoom gives us a follow-up. I'll send out the link for both of them. If Amir is on here, maybe he can post the flyer in there. There's a land use 101 virtual workshop Thursday, February 8th, 2024. Join us as we welcome the Municipal Arts Society of New York to lead us through a comprehensive overview of land use and urban planning process in New York City. That is going to be February 8th. The discretionary fund is actually the 23rd. Oh, the next one is February 5th. I'm about to say we're on the 25th, excuse me. Monday, February 25th. All right, and there's Black Girl Magic Day Celebration, Council Chambers, City Hall, February 15th, Black History Month program. Adrian Adams, along with council members Althea Stevens and Savina Brooks, and our council member Natasha Williams is on that committee. February 3rd, 2024, Black History Month celebration in partnership with Senator Comrie, State Assembly member Alicia Hyman, and council member Natasha Williams. They will have it at New Jerusalem Worship Center, 12205 Smith Street. Registration will be required. It starts at 12 o'clock, and we'll make sure we get this information out to you. And there's a community convo, quality of life in our community. Save the date. It's February 12th at the Alpha Phi Alpha Senior Center on 220 Linden Boulevard, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Those are the actual announcements in terms of that. And just wanted to, for everybody, I don't know if Manny, you're there.
Yeah.
I think I gotta take there we go. I know you want to highlight some people that are in the room, but just want to go back to everybody on this. Like I said earlier about the volunteer, we're definitely looking for volunteers. If everybody remembers, George Santos was removed from office. You have another MAGA person running, and we are trying our hardest to get this seat for Tom Swazi. This is one of the seats that we are trying to flip back Democrat. Hopefully we can flip these seats and be a part of history and help Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries become the Speaker of the House, he will be the first Black African-American speaker, probably the first minority speaker on our side. So it's very important that we come out and we push this wave. So I'm going to put the information you can send your name and email to our email. And if you want to volunteer, there isn't a volunteer opportunity this Saturday. It's only 2 hours. We're only asking you to come out for 2 hours, 12 to 2. And there are going to be other dates. So if you can't make it Saturday, just give us information and we'll find out the days. I'm looking for where I put that post earlier. And in the meantime, Manny, I guess you want to make the shout outs. I'll put the information in the chat for everybody. So please register to volunteer. You know, this is one of our strengths in Southeast Queens, our volunteer effort, our voter block. This is not an area where we will be voting for, but this is the area that we can help flip to be a part of history. And the next time Hakeem Jeffries comes to Southeast Queens, to the Guy Brewer Democratic Club, like he came last year, he will come as the speaker. And it'll mean so much to us in going forward. So Manny, while I look for this, you can do that here. Okay, here it goes. Got it.
Okay, thank you, Preston. I'll be very brief. First, I'd like to thank the senator and the assemblywoman for a very informative forum. And I know behind each senator and each assembly person, there's a staff. And I'd like to give a shout out to your chief of staff, Derek Davis, Alicia Hyman's chief of staff, Maylene Thurton, and of course, Councilwoman Williams, Amir Abedi. Amir is also a state committee man. But also I did have access to the full panel, attendance, but I did see the president of Annesley Park Civic Association and our third vice president, Bill Scarborough. State Committee woman, Dorita Clark, and parent-teacher coordinator extraordinaire is Cheryl Leverett. See, she's present. And like I said, my list is very short, but again, I want to thank each and every one for attending the meeting tonight. And as our leader Preston said, we are going into trying times. You see that Trump seemed like he's going to be the Republican candidate. We as Democrats, we have to get out and work, and we can start by coming to the club, supporting Tom Suozzi. I spoke to Congressman Meeks. It's essential. If we can flip the Congress, Hakeem Jeffries, as Preston said before, will be the next speaker, the first Black speaker of Congress. And to defeat Donald Trump, we have to have numbers. He might be the Republican candidate, but we need the Democrats to really get out and show an effort. And like we did during the Obama administration, to make sure that he doesn't get in office. And you can start by helping us at the Guy Brewer United Democratic Club. But thank you again, and I'll go back to you, Preston.
I wanted to add a few people. I know the list was there, but we did have District Leader Jackie Boyce, Judge Karen Lynn, Mr. Aaron Ambrose from Governor's Office is here. I'm getting the state senator's office is helping us out, sending some. We also have Miss Loretta Humphrey from the Greater Springfield, president of the Greater Springfield Triangular. Greater Triangular Civic Association. Miss Arcela Cook from 149th Street Block Association, president. So we thank you all for joining. I see Miss Elizabeth Newton there. Thank you all for joining us, and we appreciate you. And if President Dr. Phelps or co-leader Pam Bluford have anything, let us know, and then we'll close out. You're on mute.
I unmuted now.
I think you're good. I think you said
meeting.
everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah, you said everything, so we're good.
Yes, and thank you again, Senator and Assemblywoman. Absolutely fabulous.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you all in a couple of weeks in Albany. You know, I'm coming.
We
Thank you.
make sure you get on that bus. There's 2 buses that they just said.
No. Hey, cool. No, we have our own bus. We're bringing up
Excuse
20
me.
students.
Oh yeah. How many
Oh, yeah,
students you bring up there every year?
We bring about between 20 and 30 students. This year, we're bringing 20 students up there for the whole weekend.
Good.
That's amazing.
Good.
That's amazing.
We look forward to the
do.
assembly member hosting them.
I'm hosting.
Okay, great.
I'm just kidding.
Oh,
No, I'm not. I got a whole plan.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Yes,
we know where the food is, though.
Say it again.
You know where the food is. Assemblywoman Cook's office.
All
Am I right, everybody?
right.
You're right about
Yeah,
that.
just come down to my office for the desserts. We go,
Okay, great. You got it. I'm coming with all 20 of my students.
Okay.
Last time you had your own, Jaime had her own branded desserts.
Yes, we'll be doing that again. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, remember, I got a call from DEP, Doug. They signed the contract with USGS.
Oh,
today.
very good.
And
Good. Talk about timing.
it took a little time, but they will get their first report, I think February 5th.
Oh,
On the
okay.
groundwater. So
Oh.
thank you and the senator for
Ooh, that's good
keeping
news.
it on the front burner. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you. All right, everybody, stay safe.
Good night, everyone.
Just
All right.
stay safe.
Right.
Have a great, and thank you
Good night.
again for this amazing town hall.
Thank you.